Hi, in this tutorial I will introduce .NET MAUI. So what is .NET MAUI? It's a cross-platform app development using Visual Studio and C#. So you can use .NET MAUI in combination with Visual Studio and C# to create apps for Android and iPhones. So here's the contents of this tutorial. First, a short introduction to .NET MAUI. Then how we can use .NET MAUI in Visual Studio, and then I will create a basic Hello World application. So before we start creating a simple Hello World application in Visual Studio, let's dig into some overview of the .NET MAUI framework. So .NET MAUI is a multi-platform app user interface framework. It is developed by Microsoft, and it's integrated in Visual Studio, and you can use the C# programming language. If you don't want to use Visual Studio, you can also use the Visual Studio Code, because there is a .NET MAUI extension for the Visual Studio Code. To learn more about .NET MAUI and get access to resources, examples, etc., you can go to the web page, which you find here. So this web page gives an overview of the .NET MAUI multi-platform app user interface framework. Here you can find lots of examples, tutorials, videos, etc. So basically you should start by clicking here, get started, and then you will go through some basic examples, step by step, etc. Also, if you click here, read docs, you will get access to detailed information about the .NET MAUI framework with lots of practical examples, training, tutorials, sample code, etc. And also here, overview, what is .NET MAUI? We'll open this web page with lots of resources and practical examples how to create different types of application with .NET MAUI. So basically you will use this .NET MAUI framework in combination with Visual Studio and C# to create apps for Android and iPhone. In this tutorial I will focus on Android because it's simpler to create Android apps with .NET MAUI, because with when you are creating Android apps with Visual Studio and .NET MAUI, when you install this .NET MAUI package in Visual Studio, you will get access to the Android SDK and Android simulator. And of course, you should also have a physical Android device that you can test on, but it's not required, because you can implement and test your Android application on the built-in Android emulator. And you can also create so-called APK and AAB packages for deployment to a physical Android device or to Google Play. With iPhone development, it's a little more tricky. In order to test your app that you create with .NET MAUI, you need a Mac computer with the Xcode programming environment. So that's a little bit more tricky, because with Android you can use a standard Windows computer and you can test it on the Android emulator, which is part of the package. But for iPhone you need a Mac in addition and the Xcode programming environment. So then let's see how we can use the .NET MAUI framework in Visual Studio. So the first thing you need to do is to install the .NET MAUI workload. Basically search for the Visual Studio installer in your start menu, and then this window will pop up, and then you need to select the .NET multi-platform app UI development package, which is .NET MAUI. So make sure to select this one and select all the subcomponents. So that's the first step. When you have installed this .NET MAUI workload, you are ready to start creating your .NET MAUI application in Visual Studio. And then basically just open or start Visual Studio, then create a new project, and then you search for .NET MAUI or select the mobile category here, and then this .NET MAUI App template will pop up. And you can use that one to create a cross-platform .NET MAUI application that will work on Android and on iPhones. So now when you have installed the .NET MAUI workload, you're ready to start creating your first .NET MAUI application. So let's create a Hello World application together using this .NET MAUI framework. So then before we start, let's make sure that you have this workload installed. So then just search for Visual Studio Installer in the Start menu, open this one, and then select Modify. And then make sure that this .NET Multi-Platform App UI Development workload is installed. If not, make sure to select it and install it. So then the next step is to open Visual Studio. So then in the Start menu, just search for Visual Studio, which I have here. And then we need to select Create a New Project. And then here in this category menu, you can select Mobile. Here you can select either all platforms or Android or iOS, and then select the C# language, and then this .NET MAUI app template will pop up. If not, you can also search for .NET MAUI here in the search field, and then this .NET MAUI app template will pop up. And then just select this one, click Next, and then we need to specify a name for our project. I will create a basic Hello World application. I need to select a proper location on my hard drive, and then I just click Next. I select the latest version of the .NET framework, and then just click Create. And also to start with, I don't recommend that you select this one, include sample code. So deselect this one if it's activated. So just select the latest framework and deselect all of these check marks. And then the .NET MAUI app will be created for you. So after a few seconds, this project will be created for you. So here you will get access to different resources for .NET MAUI. So here you can get access to documentation, etc. So make sure to click on some of these links to get more information about the .NET MAUI framework. But let's dig into the files that has been created in the Solution Explorer here in Visual Studio. So different folders has been created. There's a folder called Platforms. So here there are subfolders for each of the different types of application, Android, iOS, etc. Here under Resources, typically you will store your icons, images, etc. Typically here in Images, and also here under App icon, there's a default icon that will appear on your mobile device. So this is the default icon, but you can of course create your own app icon or just download some app icons from internet and replace it with your own app icon. So basically just find an icon on internet, rename it so it has the same name, and then just delete this one and drag in your own personal app icon. You can also, of course, as part of your application, include different images. Typically, you will store these images in the Images folder. So here is a default image which is part of the default template. And also you have different style settings, etc. here, where you can style your application with different styles, colors, etc. So that's the Resources folder. Here are the different files that is part of the .NET MAUI application. The most important file is called mainpage.xaml. So let's open that one. So that's basically the file where you are creating your user interface. So when creating your user interface in .NET MAUI, you use something called XAML, which is an extension of XML. So basically just create your user interface here in the main page.xaml. Here you can include images, labels, buttons, etc. And also if you open the toolbox, you find lots of controls that you can use, like buttons, date pickers, editor, entry, which is a text box, image, label, list view, picker, progress bar, slider, etc. So basically just select the one you need and then just drag and drop it into the XAML file to create your own personal user interface. So this page is used to create the graphical user interface, while the code is in the code behind file. It's called mainpage.xaml.cs. CS is short for C#. So let's just open that one, and that's the default page behind file for this default .NET MAUI application. Basically, if you see here in the XAML file where you create the user interface, it has a button, and when the user clicks on the button, this button handler is executed. So when you click on the button, on counter clicked will be executed, which you find here in the code file. So let's see how this default application is looking at when we open it in the Android emulator. So here the default is Windows machine, but typically we want to create an app for Android in this case. So then I just select Android emulators. So by default, some Android emulators are included, but you can create your own. Basically go to Tools, Android, and the Android Device Manager. So here you can set up your own Android emulators. Basically, an Android emulator is an emulated or simulated version of a real physical Android device. So here you can just click New to add more Android device emulators. You can start them, you can delete them, set them back to factory reset, etc. But I will just use the default one here. So then I just select it here in Android emulators. I select this one, and then basically I can just click here in order to start the application. Typically the first time it will take some seconds or even a minute or two to build and open the Android emulator with this .NET MAUI application. So after some time the deployment to the Android emulator is finished. So then this Android emulator pops up, and basically here you see the user interface of your application. So this is the default user interface that comes with the template. So basically it's an image, hello world, and a text here, welcome to .NET Multi-Platform App User Interface Framework. And then you can click on this button, and then when I click it, it changes here, clicked 5 times, 6 times, etc. So basically when you click this button, it goes to the code behind file, which you see here, and goes into this method on counter clicked, and then every time I click here, it just updates with one more click like this. So this is this code that is executed when I click the button. So basically that's how you create a .NET MAUI application in Visual Studio and using the Android emulator. So let's see how we can change this default app. So assuming I want to have a text box here, or an entry as it's called in .NET MAUI, and when I enter my name here in the text box and click on the button, my greetings will be presented here on the screen. So let's see how we can do that. I want to create an a text box or an entry where I can enter my name. When I click on this button, I want to have a message popped up here on the screen where saying something like welcome and the name that you enter here in text box here below the button. So let's just stop the application and go back to the main page .xaml. So then here typically I want to have a text box, so then I just create this label here. Sorry, I delete this one. So you have this label here, hello world, and here I want to have a text box or an entry where I can enter my name. So then I go to the toolbox, I just select the entry, just drag it in here, and then an entry is created. Typically you want to specify a name for it, so like this button, it has a name like this, so this is the name of the button. So I also want to do the same for this entry or text box, so then I can just type x colon name equals to txt name or something, so that will be the name for this entry text box. And then the placeholder, here I can enter a default text in the text box, so then something like this, please enter your name or something. And then here's the button, I want to change it to something else. I can call it button OK or something, and then the text, instead of click me, I can just type OK or something here on the button name. This one can be deleted, and then the click event here I can change it to I can specify a name here, OK button clicked or something. So when I click on this button, a label should be filled out here below the button with some greetings to me. So then I find the toolbox here and add a label here below the button, so label text. Also here I need to specify a name for the label, so then x name like this equals to, I'll call it label message or something, and then by default there should be no text in the label like this. And now I need to go to the code file, this main page.xaml.cs, to create the event handler for the button, so then I can delete the old one here, it will not be used anymore. And this one, no, I will create a new one, and then basically I can go here to the button and then right click on the event handler here, and then go to definition, and then it will be created automatically. The name of the entry box or text box is just txt name, so I will copy and use that one in the code here, so I can start to put the value from this text box. So then I use the text property like this and put it into a local variable or something, so then I can create a string name equals to the text that is written in the entry box, and then I can present that one in the label which we have here below the button, and the name of this one is here. So this is the label where I want to enter a message, so this is the name of the label. I just copy it and use that one here, so then label message dot text equals to hello and the name that is presented in the entry box. So basically that should be it. So let's just start to run the application, and the Android emulator will be opened. take some time to deploy and execute the application on the Android emulator, so just stay tuned. So after a while, the Android emulator is popping up with the new Hello World app that we modified. So here we have now a text box where you can enter a name like this. And then when you click the button, then you see a message is presented below the button. So when you click the button, this piece of code will be executed, the button handler, and then it just store the text that is written here in the text box or entry field, as it's called in .NET MAUI, and then put the name in combination with hello, comma, and the name here into this label that is here below the button. So basically this is the new Hello World application that we created and modified by using this default template. And if you go back to the main page .xaml and then open the emulator here, you see the image here is this image, the label here is this Hello World label, and then we have the entry text box here where you can enter a name, and then the button, and then when you click the button, this OK button will fire an event in the code behind file that we have here, and then a message will be popping up here below the button. You can also try to change the name to something else. Something like this, and then click button, and then hello Elvis Presley. So basically this is how you create a simple .NET MAUI application for the Android mobile using Visual Studio and this .NET MAUI framework. So that's all. So now we are ready to start using the .NET MAUI framework for creating your own mobile apps for either Android or iOS and iPhone. So thank you and goodbye.